So today's review is what I've heard an extremely strong gourmand sweet scent, which is specifically from the Ministry of Scent, Kerosene Unknown Pleasures. So I've heard quite a lot about this and that specifically it's extremely strong. So I'm going to test just how strong it is. I'll put some on my wrist here and see. I'm kind of fickle when it comes to sweet fragrances, so we'll see about this. But pretty much immediately that sweetness comes through. So this is a 2012 scent unisex, and as I said before, it's gourmand, so it's meant to be very, very sweet, kind of edible smelling. This does not have that many notes, but it still has this extreme body, this extreme presence. And that's kind of true for many of these kerosene Ministry of Scent fragrances. And starting out, just like the opening, is very lemony. So the list that I have here doesn't separate the notes into top, middle, and base notes. It's just kind of grouped together with lemon, followed by caramel, vanilla, Earl Grey tea, bergamot, honey, and tonka bean. All those notes are really good, but when I first put this on, the first thing that comes to mind is some sort of pastry, like a lemon tart or something bready and light with a little bit of citrus in it. That lemon is very strong. Yeah, it smells like, I don't know, you go to the store and you buy like a packet of muffins and it has like that lemon extract in it. Very much like that. Very sweet, yet it has the lemon. It's also, and I've heard people describe it as this before, a little bit like lemonade, you know, very characteristic scent. And it's actually quite nice. And as I said before, I'm not typically a huge fan of very sweet fragrances, but this does it in a more unique way. I think probably because of the blend of notes that it has. Because the opening that you get is the lemon, followed by the caramel. And I would say the caramel is definitely there. As it settles down on the skin, it becomes more prominent. But it's not disgustingly sweet. I think the sweetest thing I've ever smelled is La Vie est Belle, which I don't really care for. It has the caramel notes as well and some vanilla, but it's just a little too sweet. This is a little bit more mild on the sugary sweet side of things. And what also stands out to me is the Earl Grey tea note, which first of all is something you don't really see that often. Maybe just general tea, like a green tea. Earl Grey tea is more of a black tea, stronger, more full-bodied, that sort of thing. And I think that comes through in this scent. It has an herbal note to it, like that black tea, that leafiness to it, mixed with obviously the sweeter notes of the caramel and the vanilla. Now, the bergamot I don't really get. I think that's kind of overshadowed by the lemon because the lemon note alone is pretty strong. Now, the honey note and the tonka bean. The honey note just kind of adds some general, more sweetness to it, more of a natural sweetness. The tonka bean is a heavier, slightly more musky type of note, which I don't really get. It doesn't really come through. Maybe there's a certain warmth that it provides, but in general it's pretty faint along with the honey and the bergamot. So primarily the notes that you get here are the lemon, caramel, vanilla, and Earl Grey tea. Which I'm actually surprised complement each other pretty well. Like I said, it smells very much like some sort of lemon pastry, lemon dessert, that sort of thing, which is quite pleasant. It reminds me of like the morning, you know, you eat some sort of tart or muffin for the morning. And interestingly, the Earl Grey tea note gets much, much stronger. Like right now, it's just getting stronger and stronger the longer it's on the skin, which is nice because it's a nice, leafy, warm, black tea note. And as I said before, also in general, I like that it is very sweet, but it's not going overboard. It's really riding the line. It has a nice, it's balanced for what it is. And the lemon note is still there, but it calms down a little bit, so it's not so sharp. and has a little bit of warmth, which I suppose could be from the tonka bean, could be maybe from the vanilla or the Earl Grey tea, which is more likely. And yeah, it's just kind of nice. And longevity, I would say, and just the general kind of projection and strength and performance, this is pretty strong. I mean, even just in the sample, you can kind of smell it. It has a certain radiance to it. So you definitely, it's not one of those where you need to just douse yourself to get noticed. This is certainly a fragrance that you do not need to put on a lot at once. Just a little dab here and there, and it will really go above and beyond with what it does. It's not crazy, but it's borderline crazy, which, you know, is good. It's still in the realm of the living. It's not going too far. But I would say longevity's probably 7-ish hours. If there were probably some heavier, muskier notes to ground it, it'd probably last longer, but it doesn't have those besides the tonka bean. Projection, I would say, is pretty good as well. Above average. If you're in a crowd, people will definitely notice you wearing it. The sweet notes, especially like the caramel and the vanilla, they stand out the most. Then, you know, when you get closer, after a few minutes, maybe the Earl Grey starts to come out a little bit more. But in general, the performance is really good, which is nice because sometimes notes, you know, these kind of lighter notes like the lemon or the vanilla, they can maybe not last as long in some instances, but this is actually a pretty intense form of this type of fragrance. Now, in terms of its unisex capability, because officially it is for men and women, I mean, obviously both men and women can wear this, but just in general, because it is pretty sweet, I see this more as a classically feminine scent. And, I mean, the masculine notes kind of come through the Earl Grey tea, the tonka bean, things like that, some of the citrus. But the caramel and vanilla definitely make it more of a stereotypically feminine scent. So if you're worried about that, you know, keep that in mind. But in general, it is a pretty good scent. Way more balanced than I thought it was going to be. Just, yeah, in general, it is a pretty good scent. And I like it more than I expected to like it, because I usually am not a big fan of sweet scents, but this does it pretty well. So hopefully you found this review helpful, and if you did, of course, leave a like and maybe subscribe. And I make videos throughout the week, so don't forget about those.